Last week, I had an absolute blast playing out at a casual level tournament hosted by myself and Fab Foundry. Perhaps the thing I remember most about that tournament was sitting down against my first round opponent, Archer, who was playing Boltyn Axes. I was feeling pretty good, a little cocky, feeling like I mostly had the game in hand, and all of a sudden came his Spillblood Dominate turn. All of a sudden I was in math mode trying to figure out how I was actually going to live through it and what the literal damage was going to be. In less than a minute, I went from pretty confident, little cocky to oh, and it was pretty awesome. Now, by and large, we've come as a community to the conclusion that Boltyn Sabers is a superior build to the Boltyn Axes build. This isn't just my opinion, but the tournament, the Road to Nationals, the higher level tournament data is there to support it. But that doesn't mean that the Axes don't have potential. Furthermore, given the recent price spikes of Courage of Bladehold, as well as some of the other legendaries, the relatively budget Axes build might actually be worth a second look. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Fab folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. Andrew with you here as always, and I appreciate you guys continuing to tune in. So, man, what a weekend of Fab this last weekend. Let me tell you what, the UK Nationals going on, that was great to watch. I got to play some Blitz, which I always do love Blitz. You can get a lot of games out. Great. Before we get into this tonight, really want to give a huge shout out to some of our DC team guys at the UK Nationals. Big Med Sai, you did a great job. Simon, nicely done. We'll definitely have you on again if you want to. And then even bigger shout out, right? So Simon, top forward, brought home a gold foil, but even bigger shout out to James. James, nice job officiating. That's an unloved job. And thank you, man. Thanks for taking the bullet for everybody so everybody else could go have fun while you worked. So well done. Good job, guys. So yeah, tonight I wanted to talking Boltyn Sabers. Or sorry, I'm not talking Boltyn Sabers. We're talking Boltyn Axes. So you just so used to saying Boltyn Sabers, right? And that's largely because, when Boltyn Axes came out, maybe it was just because we all had a bad taste in our mouth from trying to play limited or whatever, but they just didn't seem to work, right? And the Saber thing was pretty cool because you can pop with courage and do the whole wide as you can go thing. And I mean, yeah, it's very, very cool. But I was really impressed, really impressed with Archer's deck. And it wasn't that I'm not saying Archer had the brilliant deck. But it was the way he played it and the way he set it up and just the way he made it work. I was like, man, there's this is not even super optimized and there's a lot of potential here. So I've kind of been thinking about that a lot just because I thought it was really cool. So, and then, one of the things I mentioned in the intro is that, for other people getting in the game and they like Boltyn, they think he's cool. One of the things, especially with Warrior, you look at it's like, man, you want the Warrior fridge? That's kind of expensive. And I think Boltyn, because he uses, right, so Boltyn, he uses Snapdragons, right, which is 15 cents, right, as opposed to, Dynamos. I mean, granted, Refraction Bolters is cheap too, but, as opposed to going Dynamos, you go Snapdragons. And Archer was using Vest of the First Fist instead of Courage of Bladehold, which actually worked pretty damn well. And I was just very impressed with how it worked. And you could, use Gallantry Gold instead of the bracers. And it was just a very, very impressive build. And I thought, for people who are, not necessarily want to come in and drop $1,000 out of the gate, Boltyn Axes can actually do pretty good work, right? So, just putting in perspective, the Courage of Bladehold's currently 65 on TCG Player. But yeah, I mean, you have options there. Like I said, instead of the Brave Sword Bracers, you can use Gallantry Gold. There's actually a lot of arguments to be made. I mean, we've talked about that before on here. There's some arguments to be made that Gallantry Gold is probably better anyway than the Bracers. Now, I'm obviously skewed myself because I own a Bracers, as you guys will know, but I probably, because what you're trying to do with this is still swing multiple times, I probably, over multiple turns, I probably would run the Bracers in this, just to help me defend so I can kind of set up that turn. But the Gallantry Gold, basically just going bigger if you can make it happen, definitely argument for that. And then Courage of Bladehold is obviously very, very good, but it doesn't do anything for you as axes, right? So running Vest of the First Fist, which is another 10-cent card, because what Boltyn's usually doing is playing the action to charge anyway, snappies it. A lot of times you're doing like that blue bolt, right? Or a blue engulfing or something like that, and they're not going to block one because kind of the thing you don't want to do with Boltyn is block him anyway so he doesn't get the bonus because then he can't get to go again, right? So a lot of time you're going to force him to pop that snappies. It's going to hit, and then you just pop it for 2 more. That's actually pretty hot, right? So I was very, very impressed with that call. I had honestly never thought of that before. I was very impressed with that call that Archer made. And yeah, so you start putting these pieces together and you're like, man, this is actually like a pretty decent little deck. So, right, just a reminder that the way the axes work, right, is that they're both 2s, and you can attack with them really in either order, but the basic idea is every hit gets bigger as you keep coming, right? So the body comes over the top for 1. So if you go body first, body, mind, right, you guys get it, right? So also just putting in perspective, so the 2 keys to this deck, right? I mean, Lumina, we're all painfully aware of Lumina with the Saber build, but Spill Blood in this is something, Spill Blood is an 85-cent card. 85-cent card because it doesn't see, granted Lumina's only $1.50 at this point, but Spill Blood has largely been one of the eschewed Majestics out of the set because it only gives it to axes, right? But I think the thing a lot of us forget, I mean, you don't forget it until, take it from me, you don't forget it until it's getting played against you. It gives them Dominate. That's relevant, right? And it gives them +2, which Boltyn needs to automatically give them the thing, right? So basically what you're seeing is you start to see this whole strategy where Boltyn basically just kind of plays his little piddly stuff to help get his soul to, I don't know, 3 or 4. That's kind of the magic number, I would think. If you've got Cataclysms, you play them just to throw extra threats on. They'll also defend for 3. You've got Soul Shield to help charge. And then you just start going to town, right? Because when you're trying to play him in, we talk a lot about how Boltyn, in a lot of cases, needs the 3-card hand, right? One of his big weaknesses is the 3-card hand, where he needs something to play, something to pay, something to charge, right? That's largely his weakness. But he has, what I'm showing up right now are the charge cards, and he has a couple of those, right? Bolt of Courage, Express Lightning, and Engulfing Light being the main tools that you have in a build like this, that basically let you 0-drop and charge. So you only need a 2-drop. Now you're only getting 1 attack, but it's helping you to build that soul, which you need for the multiple swings, right? So it lets you do a little other thing. And of course you have Soul Shield, which we all know is a fantastic card. Everybody in Light should be using that. But again, in the 3-card Boltyn, that feels bad that you Soul Shield and then do that, and then you're like, oh, I guess I'm in an arsenal. Well, you don't have to if you also have like a Bolt or an Engulfing or an Express to do your thing, right? And you can also play Illuminate, by the way, which is another 0-4, which if it hits goes into your soul because, 0-4s don't stink. And then, of course, you have the great Take Flight via the Vanguard. Now, those fit right into what I talked about the 3-card, but they help you charge. And actually, those are pieces of combos. So let's just go through the basic Spill Blood combo right now, right? What I'm putting across the screen. Spill Blood is your first card. It gives your axes +2 and Dominate. As long as you have 1 card in your soul, as long as you have 1 card in your soul, you can chuck that because you've got the plus. Coming for 4, coming for 5. Right? Not too bad. I mean, that's just a basic turn. Just a basic turn with a 3-pitch. So it's a 2-card hand, right? That's actually quite achievable, right? And that kind of fits in what I talked about with Boltyn having that problem overall of needing to have too many cards. This deck, because your multi-attacks are coming from your weapons, and you have a good facilitator in Spill Blood, you can actually take an off turn, right, to Spill Blood. Now, what Archer, my opponent, had done to me was he had Spill Blood into Lumina, which is obviously the dream combo, so you can come in multiple times. I think, though, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think, though, that you want to Spill Blood independently of that, right? Like, sure, the combo wombo is the combo wombo is the dream play, but fundamentally, just look at I'll put it up again, look at what we're looking at. The Spill Blood for 1 into 2 pretty decent attacks they're probably going to block at least one of those. Probably they're going to throw something in front of both of them, right? I mean, that's probably the good play. Again, 4, 3, I mean, right? And then you always have to be worried in this about Beacon of Victory, if they're trying to do something else funky. You always have to have that concern on, especially like if they have a big soul, you always have to have that concern on. So I think actually doing the spill blood into these two to basically continue to put pressure on while you build up for your Lumina turn is actually the better way to go. Now, I'm not saying that if you have it, don't use the Lumina spill blood. That's great. But as we'll see a little later, that it does start to get a little expensive. Furthermore, you do have kind of another turn. Now, this is a 4-card turn, but hopefully you can set it up in Arsenal and make it a little less impactful. But and yes, you could do this with 3 cards and putting it up now, right? But via the Vanguard into Axis. So V Vanguard for an attack, you have to have either do a double charge, you have 1 in Soul and then charge 1, whatever, to give via Vanguard the plus. And then the axes can get their pluses as well, right? And that's also a 3-pitch, which is very convenient because, now that is, something we've been talking about with the 3-pitch. Typically Boltyn runs a lot of, or at least, Raid in Boltyn, he'll run a lot more yellows, and even Saber Boltyn, he'll run a little more yellows than you would normally in like the warrior package. And in this build, I think you're going to be running a little more blues. Engulfing red, engulfing blue, bolt red, bolt blue, take flight red. Well, probably running all 3 take flights, right? But you get the idea, right? So you want to have a little higher pitch curve because you basically have to try and budget in most turns to be able to swing with both axes. And you know what? Worst case scenario, you only have 1 card in hand. You can still at least swing with an axe, which they're probably going to take, but that's 2 damage. And then all of a sudden, when you get your big turn, they've already taken the damage. So very cool stuff there. Now, here's what you're building up for, right? This is your big play. Now, the reason I always, in these images, I always use Blue Bolt, because it lets you draw on hit, right? So it gives you extra. In that case, what you're just looking for is extra pitch. And that's why at the end I have question, maybe 1 more, because you have to find a way to pay for it. Right, so this is also a 4-card hand. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be playing this, probably a mid game and then hopefully a late game to close it out. So you'll be playing Lumina from Arsenal. You'll not only want, but you'll need a couple cards in your soul. So you bolt, you charge off that. So that's your 2nd card. You haven't had to pay for anything yet. You only have to pay for your Saber, I keep doing it. You only have to pay for your axes. But you can come in with 3 swings. And then if for whatever reason they don't block bolt, because I think most of the time they're not going to, you can probably get enough to swing the next time. Now, that's where Vest of the First Fist comes in, which is super awesome, is that you produce 2 resources on the Bolt of Courage hit. If it hits, you can pop the Vest and poop out 2 resources. So you get 2 swings there as well. So you don't necessarily, like if you get in a pinch where you don't have your blue pitch, then you can use your fist and fuel that. And I thought that was a really, really cool way to make this happen. So, I mean, fundamentally, this deck doesn't differ all that much from Cintauri, the Cintauri Sabers build. It really doesn't. The difference there is you have to be better, you have to be smarter, I should say. You have to be smarter about your resources, right? Because you're not getting free swings for a turn, right? The plus side, though, is a lot of people, right? Prism's not exactly unpopular right now. And Arclight Sentinel will, as soon as you pop your Courage and they slam an Arclight Sentinel down, you're kind of screwed, right? And this deck's not really as at risk of that. Sure, you may not be able to combo wombo as many. You may not get the 4th swing. You may only get a 3rd swing. But I like it, right? I like the potential of this deck. Now again, like we talked about, right? Spill Blood Lumina, I'll put those guys back up. I mean, that's your dream play, right? But I think fundamentally, at least for me, I like to play a little more controlled, put on more pressure, have more options type of thing. I think if you're trying for too much of the big turn, I think if you're trying for Lumina Spill Blood consistently, I think it's probably not going to work out. But I think if you use Spill Blood, use via the Vanguard, and you use Lumina, all as different attack options, all as different well, arsenal is a different word in this game, right? But all his different weapons in your arrows in your quiver. Oh man, I can't say anything, right? But you get what I'm saying here, right? Spill Blood's an option. Via the Vanguard's an option, and Lumina Ascension is an option, right? And you've got take Flight too, right? But probably you're only going to get, most of the time you're probably only going to do 2 swings off that, because you're probably going to want to charge 1 and keep stuff in your soul for the bigger terms. But, you know, putting pressure on is putting pressure on. So anyway, that's really it. And the other point there that I meant on Take Flight is because Take Flight doesn't give the trailing bonus, so you don't necessarily have the bonus on the first swing, right? It would be a Take Flight that has natural go again into a non-boosted axe, right? That's what I'm saying. So you won't necessarily get the bonus there. But you're playing Beacon, you're playing some, I mean, you could play Courage, or not Courage, Courageous Steel Hand, right? That's the one that if you've charged, you get. So you have a lot of options available for you there to make things happen. But, you know, like I said, I mean, we don't need to talk about this much more because I think we've kind of put it to bed. But I've been really impressed. I was really impressed with kind of the way that it just did good stuff, right? And it wasn't a super expensive deck. It was a pretty straightforward deck to play. And, you know, whenever you can make your opponent, whether you win in the moment or not, whenever you can make your opponent basically have that OS moment, that's not a bad thing, because generally if they have an OS moment, you get to play almost immediately again, right? So, and then maybe you can Cataclysm or something like that. So anyway, nicely done, Archer. I really enjoyed, of course I really enjoyed the game, but I'm wondering what everybody else thinks. Like, you know, I'm not saying that the Sabers are, I'm not saying Axes are better than Sabers. It's not what I'm saying. But I think that, you know, sometimes in the card world, we're so totalitarian about it. And it's like, well, this is better than that, and therefore this is bad. And I don't think that's the case, right? I honestly don't think I gave Boltyn Axes enough credit. And that's what I'm basically reevaluating right now. So anyway, I mean, again, it's not very, very complicated. It's relatively cheap to put together. You guys saw the prices that I had through it. So anyway, let me know what you guys are thinking as well. You know, it's just a little fun thing to look at. So anyway, remind everybody, again, Gongai Games, 10% off your purchase at checkout. You can go check them out. They're a great LGS. They're my LGS, and you can come play with us if you're in the area. Furthermore, Fab Foundry, I'd given a shout out to Travis, earlier. He helped me co-host that event, not last weekend, but the weekend before. He's a really good guy. He actually cares about Flesh and Blood. If you are looking for singles, go check him out. Use the code below. It helps both of us out. So anyway, folks, thanks very much for tuning in today. Keep those sabers and axes going, and go Commando.